Linda adjusted her glasses as she walked into the spacious conference room, the hum of soft chatter filling the air. The large glass walls overlooked the city skyline, a reminder of the company's soaring ambitions. She clutched her folder tightly, heart fluttering with a mix of nerves and hope. After 35 years with the firm, today was the annual town hall meeting, a chance she told herself to stay connected, to show she still belonged. Across the room, Mark stood confidently near the podium. At 35, he was the embodiment of fresh energy, the company's new CEO who'd taken the helm 2 months ago. His sharp suits and younger demeanor contrasted sharply with Linda's modest attire. Mark's reputation for swift business decisions and a penchant for reshaping the company was well known, leaving many employees uneasy. Linda could feel his eyes on her as she found a seat near the back. The meeting began with routine updates, but Mark's tone soon shifted. He outlined a strategic renewal plan, emphasizing agility and innovation. He spoke of a future needing fresh perspectives and streamlined teams, words that echoed ominously in Linda's ears. The room tensed, sensing the winds of change. When the presentation ended, Mark gestured for Linda to stay behind. Heart pounding, she approached the podium as others filtered out. Mark's eyes narrowed slightly, his voice low and firm. "Linda, your years here are appreciated, but the company needs to move forward. Your methods, your age, don't align with our vision anymore." The words landed coldly, sharper than she had expected. She swallowed hard, the room suddenly feeling colder. Without a word, Linda gathered her things, the first tremors of an upheaval she had never seen coming. The next day, Linda barely slept. The words Mark had spoken echoed in her mind, a quiet but insistent ache. She wasn't exactly surprised. Whispers within the company had increased, subtle at first but unmistakably pointed now. The message was clear: older employees were no longer welcome. Yet, hearing it bluntly branded on her made it feel like the ground was crumbling beneath her. Her phone buzzed early in the morning. It was a short email from HR, confirming the termination of her contract due to performance realignment and strategic restructuring. There was no mention of her years of service or past achievements. Instead, the undercurrent was painfully clear: the company wanted to shed employees like Linda, whose age Mark had disparagingly pointed out. Linda left the office that afternoon clutching the official letter, which felt like a decree marking her as obsolete. Her usually warm and vibrant workplace felt distant and cold. Some colleagues avoided her gaze, others barely masked their nods of sympathy. A few whispered under their breath as she passed by, their words dripping with pity or, worse, indifference. The worst moment came during the afternoon meeting where Mark addressed the assembled team to announce further changes. The atmosphere felt heavy, somber. When he spoke of refreshing the talent pool and embracing new energy, Linda caught cold stares that seemed to pierce through her. She noticed some employees exchange uncomfortable glances, a few casting furtive, apologetic looks her way as if unsure how to respond to her presence. Her heart ached more from the invisible wall than the actual decision. She was no stranger to hard work. She had steadily climbed through the ranks over decades, earned respect quietly, cultivated client relationships that had brought in millions in revenue. Now, all of that seemed to vanish with Mark's brusque dismissal. When it was time to leave, Linda began gathering her belongings from her desk. The usual warmth she felt in this space was replaced by a chilling emptiness. Among the scattered reminders of her years at the company, photographs, notes, and a small plant gifted by a grateful client, she felt the weight of isolation settle firmly upon her. Mark passed by her office just then, flanked by 2 security guards, and gave her a brief, smirking glance. His eyes flicked past hers, as if she were nothing but a piece of furniture they no longer needed. The guards shadowed Linda's movements subtly, their presence making it clear that these halls were no longer hers to roam freely. Suddenly, one of her closest colleagues, Jenna, approached hesitantly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Linda, I'm so sorry, none of this feels right," she said, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Linda managed a faint smile, brushing away tears that threatened to spill. "Thank you, Jenna. I never thought it would end like this." After the long, painful day, the solitude of Linda's small apartment did little to soothe her troubled mind. She sat by the window, the city's glow stretching beyond the glass, while her thoughts churned in a relentless storm. She reached out to her longtime friend, Maria, dialing numbly and waiting as the line rang. "Linda? What's wrong?" Maria's concerned voice was a gentle balm. "I got the termination," Linda admitted quietly. "They said I'm too old. That I don't fit their vision. After all these years." There was a pause filled only by the soft city sounds. Then Maria's voice carried fierce determination. "You're not what they say, Linda. You're more than just some outdated relic. You have deep experience, and plenty to offer. Don't let them erase that." Linda nodded, even though Maria couldn't see it. "I'm scared, but maybe it's time to show them who I really am. Maybe this is an opportunity to prove that they're wrong." The conversation breathed new resolve into Linda. She hung up feeling a spark flicker within her, a stubborn ember refusing to be extinguished. Days passed, but the sting of rejection lingered, sharper in quiet moments. Linda knew the company's decision wasn't about performance in the truest sense. It was about image, perception, and a misguided attempt to appear modern and dynamic. But beneath that facade, expertise and wisdom still mattered, and she was determined to wield them. She began reminding herself of the consulting projects she'd quietly managed on the side over the years, the strategies she'd developed that had helped emerging businesses thrive. It was time, she thought, to bring those hidden skills into the light. One afternoon, she sat down at her kitchen table, opening her laptop with a cautious hope. She researched upcoming industry events and came across a local conference designed to highlight experienced leaders reinventing their careers. The invitation was open to anyone with valuable insights to share. Without hesitation, she submitted her application to speak. Meanwhile, news of her departure circulated subtly around the office. Some colleagues who had once admired her but now kept their distance whispered among themselves. Mark, confident in his choice, moved aggressively with hiring younger teams, unaware that the decision would soon be tested by the very woman he dismissed. Back home, Linda's evenings became a mix of reflection and planning. She revisited old presentations, rewrote proposals, and rehearsed what she would say. The fear that had initially gripped her began to melt, replaced by a quiet excitement. "Watch this space," she whispered to herself one evening, gazing out at the dark horizon beyond her window. "I'm not done yet." As the days edged closer to the conference, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Linda felt the weight of expectation, in her own mind just as much as from the silent judgment of her peers. Yet with each practiced phrase, each careful thought, her confidence grew, ready to face the second act of a story far from over. And so, as the week of the speaking engagement neared, Linda prepared to step out of the shadows and onto a new stage. The doubt and shame tangled with quiet determination, setting the stage for a comeback that no one would see coming. What would you do if faced with such rejection? When the very people who should have valued your experience turn away? Would you quietly walk away or find a way to rise beyond the judgments? The conference awaited, and with it, the spark of a fierce and unexpected resilience ready to ignite. The day of the conference arrived with clear skies and a breeze that carried a hint of optimism. Linda stood behind the curtain in the modest auditorium, heart pounding like a drum, but beneath the nerves a steadiness had taken root. She straightened her blazer, smoothing her simple blouse, and took a long, steadying breath. The audience was already filling the seats, a mix of industry professionals and young entrepreneurs eager to glean insights. When her name was announced, a murmur rippled through the crowd. Some recognized her from the company's past, others likely had no idea who she was. But those whispers didn't deter Linda. She stepped into the spotlight, the warm glow of the stage lights washing over her, and began to speak. Her voice, clear and confident, told a story of decades of experience navigating changing landscapes, adapting strategies, and fostering innovation against the odds. She painted vivid pictures of campaigns launched, teams led, obstacles overcome, each example underscored by insight and humility. It wasn't the flashy presentation that grabbed attention, it was the substance behind every word, the calm mastery of someone who truly knew her craft. Linda spoke about the false assumption that age diminishes relevance, illustrating instead how her accumulated knowledge could predict market shifts and craft customer connections younger colleagues sometimes missed. She detailed methods of integrating new digital trends with tried-and-true marketing principles, bridging generations rather than erasing them. As she concluded, the crowd was silent for a heartbeat before breaking into genuine applause. Faces once skeptical now looked impressed, some standing in ovation. A young woman near the front leaned over to a companion and whispered, "She really knows her stuff." A man beside them nodded, eyes wide with newfound respect. Backstage, as Linda stepped down, Maria greeted her with a bright smile and a strong hug. "You nailed it," she said. "I knew you would." Word of the keynote speech spread quickly through industry channels. Articles popped up online the next day, praising Linda's depth and clarity, the unexpected revelation of a seasoned leader who had refused to fade into obscurity. Invitations poured in from various firms hoping to tap into her expertise. For Linda, the experience wasn't just about recognition, it was a reclamation of her identity and value. Meanwhile, inside the walls of her former company, the reaction was less enthusiastic. Mark sat in his corner office, eyes fixed on his computer screen where blogs and social media feeds displayed glowing coverage of Linda's speech. His jaw tightened as he scrolled through comments lauding her vision and lamenting the company's short-sightedness. Several colleagues, including some who had previously kept their distance, approached him cautiously. "Did you see the buzz around Linda's conference talk?" one asked quietly. "She's becoming a real force out there." Mark forced a tight smile. "The industry is full of surprises," he said coolly, though inwardly he felt a sting that he hadn't anticipated. Linda's triumph rippled throughout the professional community, prompting conversations about the mistaken bias toward youthfulness in leadership. She became a speaker in high demand, using her platform not just to shine but to challenge outdated norms without bitterness, her words laced with empathy and a quiet strength. The next chapter of her career seemed to unfold effortlessly. Offers from firms that valued her insight arrived daily. Among them was a prestigious rival company known for innovation but lacking experienced leadership. Their CEO reached out personally, inviting Linda for discussions about a leadership role, one that could fully harness her talents and vision. For Linda, the offerings were not just professional milestones but personal victories, affirmations of resilience and worth. The very qualities dismissed as too old, too traditional, had become her greatest assets, winning respect and opening doors closed before. At the same time, inside her former company, the residual fallout was palpable. Some employees whispered regrets, others warned by the upheaval questioned whether the company's course was truly wise. The contrast between Linda's rising star and the uncertain atmosphere back at her old firm was stark. Mark found himself increasingly challenged, confronted not just by market shifts but by the narrative of the woman he had so readily discarded. The humiliation of being shown up in such a public way unsettled his usual confidence. In meetings, his speeches about progress and youth rang hollow against the backdrop of Linda's fresh success. All the while, Linda remained grounded. Her presentations continued to inspire, her strategic insights reshaped conversations in boardrooms far beyond the city's limits. She built new teams, cultivated talent, and mentored rising leaders while proving daily that age and experience were powerful partners in innovation. Reflecting on her journey, Linda understood how easily appearances could mislead and how resilience was forged not in comfort but in challenge. She had turned a painful rejection into a pivotal opportunity, rewriting not only her career but the assumptions others held about value and relevance. Where once she had felt invisible, Linda now stood visible and vital, a beacon of wisdom and strength that no company could overlook. Her story became a testament to perseverance, a vivid reminder that real worth is revealed not in years counted but in the depth of knowledge and courage carried forward. As she prepared for her next speaking engagement, Linda smiled softly. The woman who many had written off had returned not just to participate but to lead, and the world was finally ready to listen. In the quiet moments between speaking engagements and meetings with potential employers, Linda often reflected on the path that led her here. To the outside world, her simple outfit and understated demeanor had sometimes been mistaken for a lack of ambition or polish. Yet beneath that quiet exterior lay decades of rich experience, resilience, and a carefully nurtured wisdom that few could rival. Linda's story began in a small town, where she grew up learning the value of hard work from her parents, both lifelong educators. From an early age, Linda dreamed of making an impact in the world beyond her hometown, driven by a blend of curiosity and determination. She earned a marketing degree while balancing part-time jobs that taught her the nuances of communication and persuasion. Her career took off when she joined the marketing firm straight out of college. The early years were demanding. Linda moved through junior roles with a hunger to learn, quickly acquiring the skills that made her an asset. She built client relationships founded on trust, delivering smarter campaigns when data was scarce and intuition paramount. She wasn't flashy or loud but solid and reliable, quietly steering projects that laid the groundwork for the firm's reputation. Years later, life tested Linda in ways she hadn't anticipated. When her father fell ill, she took a temporary sabbatical to care for him, prioritizing family over career advancement. Those months away from the office left her behind in the company's rapid changes, even though her resolve remained intact. On her return, she dressed more simply, her focus shifted from style to practicality, and subtle biases began to form around her different appearance. The company was evolving fast, with bold hires and flashy rebranding attracting attention. Younger employees flooded in with fresh ideas, but despite her continued performance, Linda's years of steady leadership were cast aside in favor of new blood. It was painful but understandable in the eyes of management, who saw experience as stagnation. Yet Linda never stopped learning. She quietly consulted for smaller businesses, helping them navigate digital trends and brand evolution. Her years of experience translated into strategic intuition few younger colleagues possessed. This hidden part of her professional life became a seedbed for the leadership she was now poised to offer. Her humility wasn't born of weakness but steadfastness. Linda knew value wasn't always visible in the shine of a presentation or the buzz of a trendy conference but in the deep knowledge earned through decades of facing challenges head-on. She understood markets, people, and change, not as concepts to chase but as dynamics to guide thoughtfully. This understated power now propelled her forward as she stood on the cusp of an opportunity that would redefine her career. The rival company's offer to lead their marketing division, and potentially more, was not just a job. It was an acknowledgement of her enduring relevance and an invitation to bring her visionary approach to a broader stage. Linda felt the weight of this moment keenly. The decision to step into a role that would place her in the spotlight once again was tempered by the awareness of expectations and skepticism she might face. Still, she was ready. Ready to lead without apology, to define success on her terms, and to prove that experience and innovation are not at odds but complementary. At gatherings where she once would have blended into the crowd, Linda now took the floor confidently, sharing her perspective not as a concession to the past, but as a bold statement for the future. She talked openly about her journey, including her sabbatical, the challenges of returning, and battling prejudice based on age. Her openness created bridges, inspiring others confronting similar obstacles. Her personal life had grown richer through this transformation as well. Linda reconnected deeply with lifelong friends like Maria, whose unwavering support had fueled her resilience. She also began mentoring younger professionals, offering guidance rooted in empathy and honest experience. These relationships reminded Linda that leadership was as much about lifting others as it was about individual achievement. Even her family, once concerned about the sacrifices she made caring for her father, admired her renewed vigor. The story of a woman who refused to be diminished by others' judgments resonated across generations, reflecting values they cherished: patience, courage, and integrity. Inside her new role, Linda envisioned fostering a culture where diversity of thought and experience thrived. She sought to create an environment that valued people not by arbitrary measures like age but by creativity, commitment, and character. This vision was more than professional, it was personal, a way to rewrite the narratives that had tried to define her prematurely. While many saw Linda as a veteran executive returning from a brief retirement, those who looked closer understood the depth beneath her calm surface. Her life was a tapestry woven from ambition, sacrifice, resilience, and quiet victories. The woman who was once overshadowed was now ready to shine fully, unrestrained by past limitations. As she prepared to take the reins officially, Linda paused to appreciate the journey. The moments of doubt and rejection had tempered her, the challenges had refined her. Her future was not just a return to leadership but a reimagining of what it meant to be a woman in a fast-changing professional world. The offer letter sat on her desk, a symbol of new beginnings. Signing it felt like sealing a pact with herself, to lead with authenticity, courage, and a vision that embraced the richness of experience in all its forms. The chapter ahead promised not just professional accomplishment but personal fulfillment. Linda's story was far from over. Indeed, it was entering its most compelling phase, where wisdom met opportunity and resilience met reward. With a quiet smile, she looked out her office window, the city's pulse mirrored in her own steady heartbeat. The woman they thought was too old had never stopped moving forward. Now, the world was ready to follow her lead. In the months that followed Linda's remarkable rise, the ripple effect of her return to the industry was undeniable. Her new role as Chief Marketing Officer at the rival firm quickly expanded, and soon she was promoted to CEO. Her fresh leadership, combining seasoned wisdom with progressive vision, revitalized the company's culture and strategy, boosting morale and profitability alike. Back at her former company, the contrast was stark. Mark's confidence had steadily eroded. His push for rapid change without grounding in experience led to missteps that unsettled clients and shareholders. The company's stock wavered, and murmurs of dissatisfaction grew louder within headquarters. Executives who had once cheered for the wholesale replacement of older talent began to question the decision. Ultimately, the board of directors called an emergency meeting. The conclusion was clear: Mark's approach had jeopardized the company's stability, and they requested his resignation. When the news became public, the media linked the leadership shakeup directly to the loss of their veteran project manager, Linda. The narrative was impossible to ignore. A woman dismissed for being too old had proven to be the driving force behind a competitor's success, while the company that cast her aside faltered. Mark's departure was accompanied by a widely publicized apology from the board. In interviews, senior executives expressed regret over the mishandling of the firm's transition and admitted the mistake of underestimating experience. They extended a formal offer to Linda for compensation and collaboration opportunities, hoping to repair bridges. Linda, however, chose graciousness over bitterness. She acknowledged their apology but remained focused on the future she was now shaping. During a visit to the old office to collect a few personal items, Linda was met with a mix of reactions. Some employees, once distant or cold, now greeted her with smiles and admiration. Several approached to apologize privately, sharing stories of how her absence had affected morale and productivity. These moments of reconciliation were bittersweet. They underscored the cost of prejudice but also celebrated her vindication. Among these encounters was Jenna, her longtime colleague, who embraced her tearfully. "We were wrong, Linda. You were the heart of this place. I'm so sorry we didn't see it then." Linda squeezed her hand gently. "Thank you, Jenna. What matters is what we build now." Her return was not about retribution but about inspiring change, demonstrating that true leadership transcends age and appearance. She held a firm belief that workplaces should nurture talent of all ages, valuing depth and diversity equally. As CEO, Linda initiated programs promoting intergenerational collaboration, mentorship, and ongoing learning. Her policies reflected lessons learned from her own journey, fostering an environment where employees felt valued for their contributions, not sidelined due to biases. The company's transformation under her guidance was widely noted. Productivity soared, innovation flourished, and employee satisfaction improved markedly. Linda's leadership style, combining empathy, decisiveness, and strategic insight, became a case study in effective executive management. Reflecting on the journey, Linda remained humble but proud. She often thought about the moment Mark told her she no longer fit the company's vision and contrasted it with the present reality. The pain of exclusion had fueled her determination, and in rising above it, she had redefined her own narrative and opened doors for others facing similar challenges. Her story resonated broadly, prompting industry discussions about ageism and inclusivity. Linda became an advocate for fair workplace practices, speaking candidly about overcoming prejudice and the value of experience. She encouraged others to embrace their journeys boldly, regardless of the judgments of others. One afternoon, after a board meeting wrapped up successfully, Linda addressed her staff in a town hall. "Our strength lies in our diversity of thought and experience," she told them. "We succeed when everyone's voice is heard and valued. That's the future we're building together." The room erupted in applause, not for titles or accolades but for a leader who had walked the difficult path and emerged with both grace and strength. As the story of her comeback spread, audiences around the world were inspired by Linda's resilience. Viewers shared their own stories of overcoming bias in workplace comments, sparking a community of support and dialogue. The tale became a reminder that setbacks, no matter how harsh, do not define a person's worth or potential. Now, with her new role firmly established, Linda embraced the road ahead confidently. She had turned rejection into opportunity, judgment into validation. Her journey underscored a timeless truth: respect and leadership are earned through character, competence, and courage, not age. What would you have done in Linda's shoes? Faced with unfair dismissal, could you have found the strength to rise again and redefine success? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and join us for the next inspiring tale. See you soon.